Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I just came back from holiday yesterday evening and I decided that this morning the first thing I do is quickly film this update so I can get to work and start cleaning everything away, the orchids I mean. So here before you see all the orchids that were left on my coffee table. They were the ones that don't necessarily drink all that much water because they're not in crazy active growth right now. They seem to have done quite alright. You can see some yellowed leaves, like here you can see that this rescue orchid I got from my mother had a difficult time and has lost a leaf. Oh, there it goes. But all in all, it looks pretty okay. I'm not surprised to have lost that leaf because the leaf was already in bad state when I left. It was severely dehydrated. Honestly, I would have been surprised if it was still there. And this one here, this one does surprise me a little bit. This one has a yellow leaf here, and in fact it had two yellow leaves here yesterday as well. And those all dropped. So this one clearly had a difficult time. I'm not quite sure why, because the roots look perfectly fine. I think it might be just that you can see there's a pretty big dry top layer. And it wasn't enough for it. That or the amount of fertilizer I put in the reservoir wasn't enough to sustain all those bottom leaves during the growth. Over here we have my little Bulbophyllum fascinator. And over here we can see a little new growth. Now this is my very first Bulbophyllum and it's the very first time that it's actually doing something. So I don't know if this is a new growth or a flower spike. Judging from the little segment I see there and how segmented that middle piece looks over there, the rhizome, I'm guessing it's actually a new growth. Yesterday evening I thought it was a flower spike, but now with the extra light I've changed my mind and I think it's a new growth. But it's finally doing something, which is great. So this one seems to have not suffered at all in my absence. Well done, little bulby. So here you can see everything else still looks perfectly green. Everything's alright. No problems whatsoever. And in fact, this one here has completed. This is my reverse Samara. It's when I bought what I thought was a Samara. But actually it was the other way around. Like Samara I think is Bellina times crossed with Violaceae. This is Violaceae crossed with Bellina. And it finished growing this leaf, which is pretty much as big as the other ones, maybe only slightly smaller. So it didn't mind the change from being mounted to self-watering leca, which is great, because I was a bit worried about that. And it's really started its new leaf, and it's well on its way. So this one did skip a beat. This one was very happy. Here's my little Violaceae variation alba. It wasn't doing much when I left, but you can see now it has clearly begun growing its next little leaf. So, also did fine, not a problem. And here we have my little Twinkle. And this spike was already on the way when I went on holiday, and it's just, I think, tripled in length. While this one here, this one is new. Wait, let me focus on it. Yes. So now we have double flower spikes coming from this little pseudobulb, which surprises me a bit, because the pseudobulb was smaller this time than it was last time. The old pseudobulb, wait, here. So the old pseudobulb was bigger than this new one, which indicates some setback. But clearly the plant isn't gonna make that stop it from flowering. So that's great. This is the next box where I had the Cymbidium and the two Oncidiums. And the Cymbidium seems to be perfectly fine. The growths are growing along, no problem. The bulbs aren't wrinkled at all. It's clearly got more than enough water. Then you have the Odontoglossum hybrid. It seems to be alright. The pseudobulb is not very wrinkled. I mean, it was pretty wrinkled already when I left because I repotted and took it a little bit hard. But it seems to all be okay, and the new growth is coming along quite well. So everything's alright for that one, except for this one wilted leaf back there. But that's from an old growth, so I'm not worried. And the same goes for this Oncidium. Everything looks to be quite alright. It's a little bit wrinkled still, but it was since I repotted it anyway. Nothing to do with me going on holiday. And this new growth is also going to be nice and big. So no problems whatsoever in this box. That's great. And last but certainly not least, we have my Catasetinae. So here we have my Cloecia Grace Dunn. Seems to be doing alright. The 2 growths it was growing are spreading out very nicely. These are fanning out fantastically. They still have to get a little bit more plump. They have to plump up a bit more because as things are, it's not much bigger than the old bulb yet. But they should still have a solid month of growth in them. So hopefully they'll use the coming months to plump up. But everything seems to be alright. And if you look in the pot itself, you'll see a whole mass of roots. So it's not lacking in that department whatsoever. And then we move on to my Cycnodes Wine Delight. Beautifully large bulb. That one really, compared to the old growths, you can compare it to the 2 old growths, it's like doubled in size, at least. So this one doesn't seem to mind being alone either. The root system isn't as extensive as the other 2, also because I got it later. I ordered it this growing season, so it has a bit of a setback in that regard. But it doesn't show it in the size of the bulb. And then last, here we have my Verclocera After Dark. It's become a really big fat plant now, look at that. It's huge. I'm not quite sure if lengthwise it's bigger than the old bulb, but look at circumference. The circumference is definitely larger. And also this one has a whole bunch of roots in the pot. Here are the 3 orchids that I was most worried about because they were not in the self-potting setup yet. They were instead just in pots with pure bark. Hugo already watered these once when he came back. My boyfriend he came back a week earlier than I did and he gave them some water. So that's why the pots still look moist. You can see the condensation on the side of the pot. They all seem to have done perfectly alright. The only one that really suffered a little bit is this one, it's a no ID, which I suspect to be the KS Happy Eagle. Because this was a new bud when I left. When I left it was just opening and it's already closing. 2 weeks seems a bit very short for these flowers, for a Phalaenopsis flower. You see a little bit of yellow over there? That's a little bud that was forming, but now it's blasting. So it suffered a bit, this one. However, not all is lost. There is still one more bud forming here on the larger spike. I hope you can see it. Right over here, there's one more bud forming. So I'll be able to enjoy at least one more flower, which is great. As for the Bellina, everything went fine with the Bellina. I believe that it has opened a second flower now. I think that this flower is not the same one as when I left, because I found this dried flower down here. I have to compare it with the pictures. I also feel like the old flower was like facing up a little bit more. It opened a new flower, no problem whatsoever. And this new bud over here, this bud looks like it's ready to open as well. So the Bellina didn't suffer at all, it seems. It's quite happy. And it's forming another bud. It's forming another bud up here and down here as well. So this will be in bloom for quite a while longer, which is great. And then you have the Violacia back here. Oh well, what I assume would be a Violacia. I don't know if it actually is. See, it's still in flower, it's still very pretty. No problems whatsoever. Do I see any more buds forming on this one? I see no more buds forming. So I'm not sure if it's going to flower anymore this season. But at least we've had this one and it's still around. So I'm quite happy with that. And honestly, out of the 3, it's not the healthiest. Like you can see, this was the last leaf it's produced before I bought it. And it's pretty small. It's actually a mature leaf. I didn't realize that at the time. So it clearly has some issues to deal with roots-wise. And if you look into the pot, there aren't that many roots. So I wouldn't mind if it stopped blooming and focused on vegetative growth. But it seems to be fine. It doesn't seem like the lack of water for 2 weeks actually harmed it substantially at all. I forgot to show you one thing on this table, which is that this Procatavola Golden Peacock has buds. You see that? I'll pick up the plant to show you a look. Buds! This is my very first Cattleya type to flower. I'm very excited about this. And Annabelle, if you're watching, the 2 orchids you gave me, they survived the plane without a problem. This flower is opening up further and further, so it's really looking beautiful and it smells wonderful. This bud is definitely blasting. Annabelle told me, by the way, guys, that this probably really is a flower spike. which is crazy because it's supposed to be a 1 year from flowering seedling. But I guess that summer bloomers can flower really, really young. Just zoom in on that. See? You can see like the little node there that you don't really have on roots. And a little bit of a fuzzy end almost. So apparently that's definitely a flower spike, which I'm extremely excited about, and probably Annabelle's a little bit jealous. But that's alright, I got to be jealous of her plants for so long as well. And I'll just give you a close-up. I'm very happy with it. Thank you so much once again, Annabelle. Okay, so that's how all my plants are doing right now. It seems like my system worked just fine, even though they were like this for 3 weeks with really high temperatures. In fact, I'll show you what the thermostat said. I had this little thermostat set up between my plants, like literally in between them on top of the grating, so that it would measure accurately around the plants. And currently you can see it's 27 degrees and there's a humidity of 63% next to our plants, and that's literally only because of the open topped reservoirs. Usually it's more like 40% at most. And if I click on the memory, it shows the highest point, which is 32 degrees and 75% humidity, which makes sense, right? As it gets hotter, there's more evaporation from the reservoir, so the humidity goes up as well, which is very fortunate. And the lowest temperature they had was 25 degrees and 35% relative humidity. So it gives you a bit of an idea of what conditions my plants endured while I was gone. So all my plants are doing great. They didn't really suffer from me being gone all that much, with 1 or 2 exceptions. And all in all, this was a success. What I didn't show you is that it was a lot of work to clean up again, because especially the plants that didn't drink all that much, which were on my coffee table, yeah, that meant there was still like, I think, 25 liters of water left in that box. And that's kind of difficult to carry. So I literally had to scoop out water with the bucket that held the cataset in a reservoir until it was light enough to carry to my bathtub, and then pour it all in there. So that's a warning to all of you. If you are going to try it with these big reservoirs, don't make them too big and don't use that much more water than you think they will use, because it's going to be difficult to clean up afterwards. But beyond that, this was definitely a success. And next summer I can just try the same approach again, and I can go on holiday without any sort of reservations or concerns or worries. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!